Let us take this first step together and rejoice.
Come what may, my steps shall never waver.
The goddess sees.
Now behold my power.
Let the cold overtake you.
Nothing. You are free of sin. You are free. I'm behind you.
To victory!
Cordelia, why?
Not another step. I will leave you defenseless.
You'll pay for what you've done to my family.
Everyone has the right to choose their own path based on their own convictions. Feel the might of my magic.
Think you can take it?
I care only that you and the legacy of House Wolford are safe and secure.
Can you handle my might?
It is you who should be seeking mercy.
I swore an oath to Lady Destra.
Power to your wings no longer.
I'll restore this kingdom to its rightful glory.
I promise to do all in my power to see us through this safely.
Hello everybody, MegaZardX here, back at it again to give y'all another very exciting collection reflection video where I take the time out to just go through my whole entire gaming library. It could be a game, could be a console, and it could be a limited edition. But today we're going to be talking about none other than Triangle Strategy for the Nintendo Switch. Honestly, this is like one of those few, I would dare say, hidden gems on the Nintendo Switch, very similar to Live Alive, which I managed to talk about in one of my previous collection reflection videos. Because man, oh man, if you're looking for yourself a great strategy RPG, like if you happen to go through and play through a bunch of Fire Emblem games like Fire Emblem Three Houses or something like that, and you're looking for another one to sink your teeth up into, I mean, it doesn't get much better than this one though, because I feel like there's a lot of in-depth mechanics that are in this one particular game that you don't necessarily find in games like, for example, Fire Emblem, to say the least though. And I'm going to be going through all these different nitty gritty things that you can do up in this game that makes this a very unique game where every one of your decisions matter, to the point of where it kind of gives you one of your 4 different endings at the very end of the game though. So we might as well go ahead and jump up in this though. But if you hadn't already done so, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump straight up into this video. Triangle Strategy. Oh my goodness. Now this right here is truly a game to behold, because I remember whenever Square Enix first announced this game and it was going underneath the code name as Project Triangle Strategy or Project Triangle, something Project Triangle, whatever though. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, that is a dumb name though. But putting the context, what you actually know while you're going through and traversing through this game, it makes a whole lot of sense. You just kind of felt like they might have came up with a more clever name for this thing though. But don't let the title of this game dissuade you in any form and manner though, because this is a very in-depth strategy game through and through. You're going through and playing through this game as Serenoa Wolford, who's literally like a lord over a certain land that he resides in. He governs this area, make sure all the townspeople and stuff are taken care of and such though. However, you're on the brink of war, and literally this whole entire war is based on a salt iron war. Yes, you have heard me right. Like literally salt and iron are like some of the, I would say, the most important materials that you can have, at least in this region within this game though. So much so that they were fighting wars with it though. And it was literally like pretty much 3 different regions or like 3 different lands that were kind of like butting heads with each other though. Like the trifecta 3 thing was real for almost like the vast majority of this whole entire game. So you had like one region up in the north that had all of the iron resources and stuff, where Frederica, it was her original homeland though, but you know, she managed to come to you as like a kind of like a bridge of sort to be able to kind of marry her, so that way you can kind of build a connection with the people up north though. But yeah, you had that region up there. Over there to the far east, you had like the High Zent people, and they were basically having all of the salt resources and stuff. So yeah, they were doing some shady things over there on the side. I'll talk about it here in just a little bit though. And then last but not least, you had the kingdom itself that was literally governed by Roland, who was literally like one of the next people to become like the major king or whatever though. And he's basically like the king of that one area. I would say that was kind of closer to like the southwest area of your map though. So it's like those 3 major pivotal points were kind of clashing heads with each other though, and with you being like a lord of one smaller area that still technically started underneath the king, you were almost in like the dead center of that triangle of all of these different crazy disputes that will happen between all these different lands and such though. So yeah, as you're going through and traversing through this game, you start to figure out, who are like the true masterminds behind the things. Everybody has a little bit of dirt or a little bit of darkness up on them that cause them to do certain actions and stuff. And everybody wants to get in the war so that way they can get all the resources one way or the other though. So that way they can just have a monopoly over all the great resources that you're able to get within this land though. But you being Serenoa, your best interest is literally for the people that you're governing over. But as you're trying to be this middleman in between all three of them, you couldn't necessarily vibe or jibe with, all three at the same time. You had to kind of do a little bit of take and pull though. But in terms of the gameplay, oh my goodness, this game is deep. And when I say it's deep, it is deep. Because the fact that you get to go through and all your combat is on a traditional grid, right? You have elevations, like you have the high ground, you have the low ground. Literally, if you attack somebody from the high ground down to somebody that has a lower elevation than you do a little bit more damage that way. You can sneak around somebody's back or something like that and attack them that way. That does a little bit more damage. You can actually affect the terrain. You can make it rain, cause puddles to scatter across the land. You can freeze some of the parts of the land. You can literally set fire to it and stuff. That makes traversal a little bit easier or a little bit more difficult. Or, if there's like puddles spread out everywhere, you can use the lightning spell and it can affect everybody like that. There's a lot of different ways to approach combat given the kind of terrain that you're facing your opponents on. And then also in terms of the turn-based element of it, it's not like Fire Emblem where you get to have all your units attack simultaneously at the same time and then all the enemy units gets to attack. No, it is definitely not that. Basically, depending on the certain character's speed stats and stuff or whatever happens to transpire throughout the whole entire battle itself, you'll have X amount of units of your team get to go, and then squeezed in between, you'll have one of your other opponents being able to move themselves, and then it'll kind of rotate back and forth. So you might have 2 moves for you, 2 moves for them, 1 move for you, 2 moves for them, 3 moves for you, 2 moves for them. And that's basically the order of how you'll go through and determine turns. And all of that, thankfully, is laid out at the very bottom of your screen. So you get to know exactly who gets to move next. So you really, combating in real, almost the closest thing to real time, even though it's still turn-based, with the fact that you have to accommodate for how the way people are going to be able to move even like a few turns after you move. So there's a lot of different strategies when it comes up into that. And I think the most important thing that I always pull out in most strategy games is the fact that every single one of your decisions that you make in this game truly matter. So much so that it actually affects certain story beat elements to where, there's like certain forks in the road where it's like, hey, we're going to take a vote. And literally, depending on who you talk to or who you have interactions with in between battles, like, when you're just able to have conversations with people based upon whatever happened or transpired after the battle, it will determine whether or not you're like on 3 different major stats that help influence one of your decisions every time you go to these scales of conviction. Because when you do these votes at these pivotal points, it will determine whether or not you're going to go down this one road where it's like, hey, we're going to go to this one land, or maybe you're going to go to this one land, or you have some idea to say, hey, we're going to fight like this, or we're not going to fight like this, we're going to do something completely different. There's a handful of moments in the game where it will do that, and it all leads down to your final ending, which there's like 3 major endings based upon like 3 of your strongest companions. Like you have Serenoa, who's the main character himself, but then you also have Benedict, who's literally like your right-hand man throughout most of this adventure. Then you have Roland, who's literally almost like your best friend as well though, but he is the prince of what would be like, the next king to the heir to the throne. And then you also have Frederica, who's literally your soon-to-be wife, and each one of them values certain things over others. So it's kind of hard to persuade them to do some things as opposed to other things, which you put 2 and 2 together. That kind of determines what kind of ending you'll get at the very end of the game though. There's also a golden ending out there if you happen to choose the right steps along each and every major decision point that can potentially lead you to the gold ending though. So because of all these endings, one thing that they did include in this game is a new game plus, and I really do love the heck out of that mess though, because literally once you get to the end, you want to see how some of the other endings play out. Cool, you can literally carry over most of your items and all your character levels and stuff and move that all the way back to the very beginning of the game and start over, because that's what I had to do while I was going through and playing this game. So that way, once I was done, because the first route I got was Frederica's route, and then I really want to see the golden ending, so I just kind of blasted through. Luckily, you can hold, I think it's start or something like that, to blast through a lot of the cutscenes and stuff that you probably already had seen before. But then obviously there was a scene that I didn't get to see in my previous playthrough. Then I'll just let that play out. But yeah, there's nice little things like that, and there's also level scaling in this game. So even as you're going through and getting your levels really high, if you happen to reset things to a new game plus or anything like that, literally your enemies will scale with you, so it'll never feel like the game's getting easier. If anything, it's getting a little bit more challenging, or it will still cause you to think a little bit more so each and every time, which is something I really do like about triangle strategy. It will always get you to think constantly. Like there's never really or truly a dull moment up in this game. And I think that's one of the things that makes this game shine a lot higher than a lot of other strategy games that might possibly be out there though, because if you're looking for a good one, honestly, you really need to invest some time up in here, do a little digging and looks up in here though. The HD 2D style in this game is nothing to scoff at. Square Enix does a phenomenal job up on this one, and with any HD 2D games that happen to do, this one just happened to be the next one that they made at this point in time when it released. And man, it is a beauty to behold. I love all the voice acting. The voice acting was very top notch. And gosh, by golly, by the time I was done with this game, it literally was a contender for Game of the Year when this game came out though. I think I literally put it in like my top 3 or 4 games of that year. Like this was just a great experience from start to finish. I could probably keep gushing on and on about this game though, but I had to end the video somewhere though. But nonetheless though, you gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, have you managed to go through and pick out this game? And if you did, I'm curious to see what kind of ending did you manage to get. Who were your personal favorite characters up in there? I didn't even talk about the stinking music up in this game though, but there's some I'll go back and listen to. I'll be like, gosh dang, that is a really strong bop right there. Like, man, oh man, this pumped that mess up in my ears, man. I was like, I love every freaking second of it, man. Holy shoot. All right, I'm gonna end it right there. I'll just let me know in the comments what you think about this game. And if you hadn't played it, hopefully, you know, you might do a little bit of digging and try to find a copy of this game, because hey, this game will not fail to disappoint. So if you really like this video, make sure you're going to hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things video game related I feel like talking about and discussing. So remember y'all, until our video I make next, see y'all.